Today we've got another V8, but this time we've got a big fat American one. We've tested the Mustang. Let's see what Jeep is up to. Let's roll with the intro. Okay, let's start with the exterior. Before that, please subscribe and hit that bell notification figure, because the more you subscribe, the more we'll be able to get cooler cars. So thank you for that. Alright, let's start with the exterior. Okay, now at the front, I do like the design of this car. It does look muscular and big. It kind of reminds me of that pig from Angry Birds for some reason. It kind of looks like that. And one of the favorite features here is the grille. So it does get kind of a honeycomb grille, and it actually suits the car. One of the loudest designs is this rear bumper. So you have two air intakes there and there, and the car's front is actually massive. I mean, it comes up to my hip. I'm 6'2" and it comes up to my hip. So to make this car a bit more modern, Jeep did add daytime running lights here and over here as well. And on the hood, you get two more air intakes right here and here. The vents are functional and the front looks good. So overall, I would have to say the front looks quite amazing. Now let's move on to the side. Okay, now at the side you can quite literally say that this is a mid-sized super SUV, and you do get 20-inch wheels at the front and back. Personally, I'm not a fan of the wheels that are on this car, but they do match the profile of the car, which is being big and loud. So that does match the profile. You do get a Hemi 392 badge here, the Grand Jeep Cherokee badges here, and I would like to say overall, from the side, the design looks quite amazing. I mean, just look at this. It's a good looking SUV. Okay, now let's talk about the rear of this car. This is literally the favorite bit of the car for me, because I think the rear end of this car is absolutely beautifully designed. And the favorite feature of that is its rear tail light. It looks quite amazing. Now it does get quad exhaust as well, and you do get the SRT and Hemi badge right here. You also get a roof spoiler here. Is it necessary? Yes, it is. It makes the car look better. So overall, I think the car looks quite amazing, even though it's big, fat, and, well, American. I actually like this car. So exterior wise, I would say it's 8.3 out of 10. Okay, so let's talk about the interior of this car. So the design looks very plain and simple. There's not a lot of things going on here, but it still has a bit of extravagance to it, thanks to the carbon fiber. So you get carbon fiber on the dash, and it goes all the way up to the door. And it does get a double pane sunroof, which is quite cool. It makes the interior feel more lively. So props to Jeep for putting that in here. And all of this, as in sitting on the driver's seat, the driver's perspective is kind of cool thanks to the steering wheel. I think the steering wheel is designed absolutely beautifully. Now let's talk about the seats. So the seats are very comfortable. I do have to say that the seats are very comfortable, but the design of the seats aren't the greatest. It's designed for, well, this car is technically an American car, so it's designed for big fat people. I'm sorry to fat shame, but that's basically what it is. The seats are very wide, even though it's very comfy. There's not a lot going on in the seats. You do get electronically adjustable seats, and that's pretty much it. So the seats don't grab you compared to like an Audi RS Q8, an Audi RS3, or any of the other sports cars made by German manufacturers, but still, it's something to work with. It's very comfortable. It makes you feel like you're the king of the road, because the seat is literally like a couch. You feel like you're sitting on a couch. Now, let's talk about the steering wheel. The steering wheel is absolutely beautiful. I mean, just look at this. One thing that I do like is the fact that you get two analog displays there and a digital display there, which is quite amazing. And as you can see, this car has only got about 60,000 kilometers. And the steering wheel controls are pretty simple as well. This is where you adjust all of that. This is your cruise control settings, and you can basically, you get adaptive cruise control, which is quite amazing. And overall, it looks quite good. And I do have to mention that the paddle shifters, even though a lot of people have said that they're too small for this car, I absolutely do love it. And I also forgot to mention the fact that the seats are cooled and heated. So on a hot day like this, that's a very cool feature.
At the back, we got a lot of room, which is good because we will feel a bit comfy. And look, I'm 180 and like I still have a lot of space.
Okay, engine price and specs. So this is the most important bit of the car because this is what makes this car special, its engine. So let's pop the bonnet open. And if you have seen any previous videos, you know that this is the most challenging part of the video, to try to get me to open the bonnet. Okay, I did it, so that's good. That's a 6.4 liter V8 which produces 520 horsepower and 630 newton meters of torque. That's a lot of power for an SUV, and this car weighs a little under 3 tons, which is it is quite heavy, but it does get all-wheel drive, which is good for especially a heavy SUV because you get better traction and a better throttle output. Well, throttle response, that's the correct word. And it does have an 8-speed gearbox, and 0 to 60 time is actually 4.6 seconds for an SUV. That is super fast. Now the wheels are 20 inches, which is quite massive. The design is, well, not something that I favor because I don't think it looks good. You do get massive Brembo brakes, which is quite good because this is a heavy car after all. When you need to stop this car, these brakes do perform. Okay, let's talk about the cool features of this car. Starting with, you can remote start the car, so I'll just show you the key. That's pretty cool. So all you have to do is just click it twice, and it sounds amazing too. That brings me to the second coolest thing, the exhaust noise. So let's go and start the car, because this does have a massive V8 after all. Let's start the car. Startup noise is actually cool. Now let's just rev it for a bit. It does have a stock limiter at 4,000 RPM, which is a bit annoying. But if you do love V8s, what I do recommend is go and check the C63S video right here, because I think you will absolutely love that car. And special thing, it doesn't have a stock limiter, a rev limiter. So go and check that video out. The last and coolest feature for me is its SRT monitor, well, SRT app. So you can test things such as your 0 to 60 time, 0 to 200 time, braking distance and everything here. You can also test your G-force, which is, it tells you how much of a G you are. That's what it does. Well, not really, but let's move on. And you also get your oil temperature, oil pressure and battery voltage as well. So all of that is trackable via the infotainment system, so that's pretty cool. Now let's move on to the annoying. Okay, let's talk about the annoying features of this car, starting with, so as you can see, you get a racing stripe here, you get the racing stripe here, and it goes all the way up. And then when you come to the back, you can follow me, it's not there at the back, which is quite annoying. Why didn't they continue the stripe to be here?
Talking about annoying feature from this car drinks 15 liters per 100 kilometers, which is so much.
Another annoying thing is that this pillar right here, it becomes a massive blind spot when you're driving, which is quite annoying. Okay, so let's go for a drive in the Jeep Cherokee SRT. Starting with the seating position, so you do sit a bit high above the ground because you're on a very tall SUV. And like I said before, this is a bit annoying because that's a massive blind spot. But when you're driving this car, the very first thing I have to mention is the throttle response. So this car is very jumpy thanks to its massive engine. So let's test out its accelerations. Let's see. Throttle is very responsive, which is very good because it's a naturally aspirated V8, and acceleration is absolutely brutal. So the second you put your foot down, there's absolutely no lag. It just goes, which is quite amazing. Now I do have to say that the suspension is not too stiff for it to be uncomfortable and not too soft to be too comfortable. So the suspension, especially on sports mode, is quite amazing. Another thing is this car is all-wheel drive, so when it comes to putting the power down, it does a pretty amazing job. I mean, literally there's plenty of traction in this car. I do have to say this is literally getting in the way too much, so that's a bit annoying. But apart from that, this engine is just absolutely amazing. This is literally one of the best V8s that I've driven, especially for an aspirated aspirated one. We've tested the Mustang, but I gotta say this 6.4 liter V8 is just amazing, literally amazing. There's no lag at all. Power is quite instant. And now let's see what the gearbox is like. The gearbox is quite responsive when it comes to shifting gears. It does keep you in a, well, it does keep you on a low range until you get to a certain speed, probably around 5,000-6,000 rpm. That's when it does shift. So even the gearbox on this car, despite it being a single clutch, it's pretty amazing. So this engine, the way it feels, the way it drives, the way it handles, it's quite amazing. And I didn't mention about anything about handling, but I gotta say this gets through the corners pretty amazingly. It doesn't feel heavy, which is quite surprising because this is a heavy car. I mean, it's literally a little under 3 tons, but it doesn't feel heavy at all. It feels so comfortable. It feels like an amazing sports SUV. So overall, I would have to say the driving experience is 10 out of 10. It's a 10 out of 10 because this is literally one of the best V8s that I've driven. So props to America for that. Final thoughts on the Grand Cherokee SRT. Paulo, do you want to start?
Yeah, I always start with the weight of the car, which is pretty heavy. But when you drive the car, you don't feel that heavy, which is good.
Yeah.
What about you, Mike?
Yeah, I think, yes, when it comes to driving, this car is literally perfect. I mean, it's a heavy SUV, but when you're driving, it doesn't feel like that. It gets through the corners amazingly. It's got enough traction. It can go through the corners pretty well. The suspension, perfect. Engine, perfect. And like I said, driving is a 10. So, just editing, and I have to mention something that the owner told us, which is value for money. When it comes to value for money, nothing actually beats this car. You could get the BMW X5M, or you could get RS Q3. But when it comes to space inside the car, the Jeep Cherokee SRT is much more spacious and much more comfortable. And the interior quality, yes, it's not as good as a German equivalent, but when it comes to value for money, you get enough horsepower. You get 520 horsepower, you get a massive V8 which is loud, and the car looks amazing. So if you want to stand out for $65,000, there's no other car which will offer the value that the Jeep Cherokee SRT offers you. So that's something that has to be mentioned. Now back to the video. Well, and I have to say this car is currently for sale for $68,000. If you are interested, just drop us a message. We'll put you in contact with the owner, and we can go from there. And if you had the money, would you get it?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't like heavy cars, and yeah, I wouldn't get it. But if I had many cars in my garage, I would get it. I would get this car.
That's
just
an extra. Yeah.
Just yeah, to have fun with a different car.
Yeah, if
American
this is
car.
gonna be my daily driver, I wouldn't get it. But then if it was to like have another one on the fleet, which is a very powerful SUV, yes, I would. So yeah, that's where I would leave it. I wouldn't buy it personally because, well, I'm not a fan of American cars. I love German cars, and I wouldn't go away from German cars, which is, well, once you go German, there's no going back.
Yeah, that's it.
Don't
forget to subscribe
Yep.
and active the notifications.
Yep, subscribe, like, and yeah, if you are interested, like I said, drop a message. It's an amazing car, I have to say that, even though I wouldn't get it, but it's an amazing car.